The footage of NBA YoungBoy going live after NBA Ben 10 was shot
It's gonna be a murder scene wherever I'm at, bitch.
didn't just circulate, it exploded. Within minutes, it was everywhere. X, Instagram, YouTube. At first, some people dismissed it as clout chasing, just another viral moment built on shock value. But that narrative didn't last long, because as more clips surfaced and more context started to unfold, the tone shifted fast. What looked like internet noise suddenly felt serious.
Killer, catch a water shot for any reason. Yeah. It's gonna be a murder scene wherever I'm at, bitch.
Urgent, real. And now, everyone is asking the same question. What actually happened? It all traces back to April 13th, 2026, the day the internet lit up. Clips began surfacing across every major platform, allegedly showing YoungBoy on Instagram Live. In those clips, he appeared emotional, shaken, on the verge of tears. The context? News that his longtime affiliate, Ben 10, had been shot in Houston just days earlier. The timing couldn't have been more volatile. Within hours, YoungBoy was trending everywhere. Comment sections flooded with his name in all caps. Reaction channels rushed to repost the footage. Some didn't even wait for full context, they just hit upload. Speed mattered more than accuracy. And the clip itself? It showed someone who looked and sounded like YoungBoy speaking directly into the camera. His voice raised, his face intense, the kind of raw emotion that doesn't need subtitles to be understood. But it wasn't just the words. Lines began circulating across social media like wildfire. Quotes attributed to him spread faster than anyone could verify them. "I'm going to war with the whole Detroit. I ain't dropped a bag since Vaughn got handled. We finished smoke, UJR. I've been riding around here for 3 days." Other versions of the clip pushed things even further, claiming statements about Ben 10 never walking again, about 4KT making the city feel pain. Whether real, edited, or taken out of context, it didn't matter, because once those words hit the internet, they took on their own life. One post in particular, uploaded on X, pulled in millions of views almost instantly, and that was just the beginning. Re-uploads across YouTube and Instagram stacked millions more on top. Every version had the same effect: shock, confusion, and tension. The comment sections turned into battlegrounds. People weren't just reacting, they were choosing sides. The idea that YoungBoy had just declared war on an entire city became the dominant narrative overnight, and one name kept appearing alongside his: Allstar Jr., a Detroit rapper who, according to what was circulating online at the time, was being blamed as the shooter.
This was the guy that allegedly, according to this story, J Prince Jr. tells Ben 10, go snatch his chain, they're in the same place eating.
The one who allegedly put Ben 10 in a Houston hospital on April 8th, 2026. At that point, the situation was already unstable, because no one actually knew the full truth about Ben 10's condition. Early reports painted a grim picture: critical condition, paralyzed, flatlined on the operating table. Some posts even claimed he had died and been revived. None of it was confirmed, but it didn't need to be.
Listen, unfortunately, niggas lose their lives, niggas go to jail, usually over a girl. And, you know, obviously, if you ask him, they'll be like, we ain't beefing over no girl, man. He started disrespecting me.
Because when rumors like that hit the internet, especially tied to names this big, they don't slow down. They multiply. And that's what made the live clips hit differently. The audience was already on edge, already expecting the worst. So when those videos surfaced, they didn't feel like rumors, they felt like confirmation. The narrative locked in almost instantly.
Supposedly, this guy got around to getting his hand on a pistol, which is kind of crazy. They're in Texas.
YoungBoy saw what happened. YoungBoy went live. YoungBoy declared war. Even as some mainstream outlets picked up the story, they added disclaimers. The clips hadn't been independently verified, no official confirmation from YoungBoy's team, no clear timestamp, no statement. But online, silence doesn't mean uncertainty, it means validation. At least that's how people interpreted it. Every hour without a denial only made the story feel more real.
Now, Allstar Jr. popped online, and he said, I had to shoot to the D and get some new ice, cause my man Ben 10 took some of my stuff to the hospital with him.
Meanwhile, the posts kept coming. Different versions, different edits, same message. And for millions of viewers scrolling through their feeds, it all blended together into one continuous moment, one timeline, one story, even if that story wasn't fully accurate. At the same time, Allstar Jr. wasn't exactly staying quiet. In the days between the shooting and the viral clips, he was active online, posting from a jewelry store in Detroit, making comments that people interpreted as direct shots at Ben 10, referencing the situation, even putting up money, offering $20,000 for a challenge tied to Ben 10's name. That energy added fuel to an already burning situation. Because now it didn't just look like a shooting, it looked like disrespect. And on the internet, disrespect spreads faster than facts. So when the YoungBoy clips dropped, the audience was ready to believe them. No hesitation, no verification, just reaction. Shares, screenshots, response videos. Within hours, the internet had already decided what this story meant. And once that happens, it's almost impossible to reverse. For days, most people didn't stop to ask the important questions. When was this recorded? Was it even real? Were those quotes edited together, taken from different lives, or completely misinterpreted? None of that mattered in the moment, because what people saw looked real, it felt real, and emotionally, that was enough. By the time doubts started creeping in, the narrative was already set. NBA Ben 10 had been shot, YoungBoy had reacted, Allstar Jr. was trolling, and the internet treated it all like one continuous, live, unfolding event. But the truth, the real story, doesn't start with the live. It starts days earlier.
April 8th, 2026, Houston. A place called Confessions, in a night that turned violent in seconds. This wasn't just personal, it was the kind of disrespect that demands a response, not just privately, but publicly. Because in these circles, silence doesn't get read as peace, it gets read as weakness, and that was never going to happen here. Tension between J. Prince Jr. and Allstar Jr. had reportedly been building long before April 8th. Words had already been exchanged, pressure had already been applied. So when everyone ended up in the same place, Confessions in Houston, it wasn't just coincidence, it was a collision waiting to happen. That night was supposed to be a celebration, a birthday gathering for OG 33. Music, energy, people moving around, a packed room in Upper Kirby. But underneath that atmosphere, something else was already in the air. According to accounts that surfaced afterward, both sides were present. J. Prince Jr., NBA Ben 10, multiple NBA affiliates, and Allstar Jr. Then came the moment that would define everything. The version that spread online, the one that shaped the narrative, claimed that J. Prince Jr. allegedly pointed out Allstar Jr.'s chain, not just noticing it, targeting it, and then directing others to go take it. Go get it. That's how the story was told. And according to those same accounts, people moved on that instruction. What followed wasn't subtle, it wasn't quiet, it was immediate. Multiple men approached Allstar Jr., hands reached, pressure applied, a chain being grabbed, pulled, fought over, and in that moment, everything changed. because the chain didn't just come off, it resisted. And that detail matters, because now this wasn't just a robbery attempt, it was a struggle, a physical fight. Allstar Jr. outnumbered, being pulled, being pressed, and in the middle of that chaos, he reached for a weapon. In Texas, self-defense laws are known to be broad, and almost instantly that became the narrative Allstar Jr. leaned into. Not aggression, not escalation, self-defense. His version was simple. He was sitting, he was approached, he was attacked, and he responded. What is confirmed is this: shots were fired multiple times inside a crowded venue. NBA Ben 10 was hit more than once, primarily in the arms and legs. He collapsed inside the restaurant. Another man was struck in the torso. Both were rushed to the hospital, both in critical condition.
And just like that, a birthday party turned into a crime scene. But the violence didn't end there, because within hours, the internet picked it up and reshaped it. Another storyline started forming almost immediately, centered around OG-33. Claims began spreading that he had left when the shots rang out, that he didn't stay, didn't help, didn't stand his ground. Whether true or not, it didn't matter, because Allstar Jr. amplified it, mocked it, turned it into content, and once it hit social media, it became part of the narrative. Meanwhile, J. Prince Jr. found himself at the center of it all, named in post after post, accused of setting everything in motion, of pointing out the chain, of initiating the situation.
And he was flexing and
He denied it, quickly, directly, pointing out that he had recently undergone ACL surgery, that his mobility was limited, that he wasn't physically involved the way people were claiming. But by then, the internet had already made up its mind. Because once a story is formed online, facts don't move it, momentum does. And then came the shift, because this wasn't just about what happened in Houston anymore. It became about what happened after. Within a day, Allstar Jr. was back online, posting, smiling, moving like nothing had happened. The first post hit hard. A jewelry store in Detroit. New chains, new pieces, fresh ice. Caption: had to shoot to the D and get new ice, 'cause my man's Ben 10 took some of my stuff to the hospital with him. That wasn't just a caption, that was a message. It reframed everything, turned a shooting into a win, turned survival into dominance. And people saw it exactly that way. And then it escalated, again. A challenge, the Ben 10 challenge, a dance designed to mimic being shot, falling.
Now the best way this dance can work, if a nigga shoot you, do the BNT, do the BNT, do the BNT, do the BNT, do the BNT.
Reenacting the moment. And then $20,000 on the line for whoever did it best. It spread instantly.
TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. Not because people agreed with it, but because controversy travels faster than anything else online. Reactions split down the middle. Some called it ruthless, disrespectful, dangerous. Others, they celebrated it, framed it as standing on business. And then came the music, a new track, direct references to the Houston incident, names being dropped, shots being taken. This wasn't just trolling anymore. This was escalation, public, loud, unavoidable. Even DJ Academic stepped in, breaking it down in real time, pointing out where this kind of energy usually leads, drawing comparisons to past situations that didn't end well. Because there's a pattern, and people who've watched this long enough, they recognize it early. Allstar Jr.'s response, consistent, unshaken. He didn't start it, he didn't escalate it, he responded. That was his stance, repeated again and again.
he got shot, thinking that it was over with. He did a whole interview.
But whether that holds up outside his circle, that's a different question. For a few days, the response from YoungBoy's side stayed controlled, indirect, measured. Posts from affiliates, subtle tension, no explosion. Until the clips surfaced. And when they did, everything changed. Because by April 14th, the internet believed three things as fact. Ben 10 was dead, or close to it. YoungBoy had gone live and declared war, and the footage proved it. But here's where the story breaks, because none of those things held up the way they were being told.
$20,000 Ben 10 challenge, best Ben 10 challenge, man, that go viral. With me.
Start with Ben 10. The rumors? Paralyzed, dead, flatlined, life support. They were wrong. Updates from people close to him painted a completely different picture. Alive, responsive, speaking.
I want to just warn this guy, Allstar Jr.
Recovering. Family confirmations backed it up. Local outlets confirmed it. He wasn't dead. He wasn't paralyzed. And that changes everything. Because the emotional weight behind those viral clips, it was built on the worst version of the story, a version that wasn't true.
These stories don't end like this. You probably should take...
And then there's the footage itself. The quotes, the threats, the war with Detroit. None of it was verified. No official confirmation.
No statement. No proof that those clips were even recent. And that matters, because what looked like a real-time reaction may not have been real-time at all. But by the time people started asking those questions, it was already too late. Because the internet had already decided what it saw. And once that happens, the truth has to fight its way back in. By the time the story reached its peak, it wasn't just one version anymore. It was layers, clips, edits, reposts, reactions stacked on top of reactions. And somewhere inside all of that, the truth started to blur. Because when you break it down carefully, piece by piece, not everything that went viral actually holds up. Some of the footage circulating of NBA YoungBoy may be real, but that doesn't mean it's new. It doesn't mean it's connected, and it definitely doesn't mean it was recorded in response to what happened on April 8th. In situations like this, older clips resurface, moments get repurposed, different live streams get stitched together, and suddenly it looks like one continuous reaction, even when it isn't. Because here's what we actually know. YoungBoy was not at Confessions that night. He wasn't in Houston, he didn't fire any shots, and there's no verified footage of him being physically involved in anything tied to that incident. No retaliation, no confirmed follow-up violence, no real evidence behind the claims that spread the fastest. What we're left with instead is a viral narrative built in real time, a real shooting, a real victim, a real conflict, but layered with exaggeration, misinterpretation, and in some cases, straight-up misinformation. Let's separate it clearly. What is confirmed, the shooting at Confessions on April 8th, NBA Ben 10 being hospitalized in critical condition, Allstar Jr. firing shots, which he claims was self-defense, J. Prince Jr. being present and denying involvement in any setup, the ombre trolling campaign that followed, including the Ben 10 challenge in the music releases, and an active investigation by Houston police into what appears to be a robbery attempt that escalated into gunfire. What is not confirmed, that Ben 10 was killed, that he was permanently paralyzed, that YoungBoy went live and declared war on Detroit, that the viral clips represent new verified footage, or that any retaliation connected directly to YoungBoy or 4KT has actually taken place. And that distinction matters, because the emotional weight of this entire story was built on the worst possible version of events, a version that spread faster than the truth. Ben 10 wasn't dead. He wasn't gone. As of April 15, 2026, according to people close to him, he was alive, alert, responsive, recovering. But by the time that information reached the public, the internet had already moved on. Because that's how viral stories work. They don't wait, they don't verify, they escalate. And in this case, everything accelerated at once. A real shooting, amplified by rumors, pushed further by trolling,
and locked in by emotional, unverified footage. Allstar Jr.'s actions online were real. The challenge, the posts, the music, all documented, all visible. The shooting itself, real, serious, still under investigation. But the idea of YoungBoy declaring war, that part doesn't hold up. And that's what makes this story different. Not just the violence, not just the names involved, but how quickly the false version became the dominant one. How millions of people reacted to something that was never confirmed. How narratives formed before facts could catch up. Because in today's internet, perception doesn't just follow reality. Sometimes it replaces it. And by the time the truth shows up, it's already playing from behind. So now the real question isn't just what happened that night in Houston. It's how the story was told after. What was real? What was exaggerated? And what was simply believed because it felt real in the moment? If you found this breakdown interesting, or if you want more deep dives like this one, check out the videos on your screen. There's always more beneath the surface, and we're just getting started.